Spoiler warning, The Sopranos is not on my list. Welcome back to the Ectoviolence channel. My name is Alec. Today we're talking my top 50 favorite television shows of all time. Now this list is subject to change in the future, by the way, in case I forgot anything, because I did some pretty extensive research and thinking to come up with this list. And I tried to put a little bit of everything on there that I like. So let's get into it with number 50, Parks and Recreation. Now, The Office is not on this list either, spoiler alert. But I do like Parks and Rec. I think I like Parks and Rec significantly more than The Office. Now, I don't hate The Office, either version of it, to be honest. I think both of them are fine. But Parks and Recreation just has something else going for it. Maybe it's the political stuff, but I definitely enjoy it more. Number 49, Dragon Ball Z. Now, it's actually funny. I've been rewatching some Dragon Ball Z this week. But this is a show I watched growing up. I was exposed to thanks to Toonami. I still have a bunch of VHS tapes and my action figures from when I grew up, so Dragon Ball Z was a big part of my life. Number 48, Metalocalypse, which is an Adult Swim show. If you don't know this show, go check it out if you like metal music. Personally, I wasn't even a big metal fan when this show came out. I'm kind of way more into that kind of stuff now, but I thought this show was hilarious. The fact that it was created by Brennan Small, who created and starred in Home Movies, which I thought was also a great show. Ultimately, I decided to put Metalocalypse on this list and not Home Movies. Number 47, Beavis and Butthead. Okay, I feel like I have to defend putting this on here, but that's not the case. Beavis and Butthead is well loved by certain people of a certain age range, from Gen X to millennials. And while these days I mostly stick to just rewatching Beavis and Butthead Do America, even some of the stuff they've done recently is not bad, like the sequel movies, and growing up watching it on TV with the music videos was just like a whole cool experience. It's hard to describe if you weren't there. Number 46, Dinosaurs. Now this show is amazing. It's dark, it has very interesting messages delivered in a funny and delightful way through essentially puppeteered costumes, and God, it's just brilliant. This is, again, a sign of the times. Like, the early 90s was heavily dominated by this kind of stuff. I remember my grandma had a doll that you would pull the cord, it was of the baby, and he would say all the catchphrases. Number 45, Sex and the City. Now, I will admit, I haven't seen every episode in this, but my girlfriend was watching it a couple months ago, and I would frequently kind of join in and watch with her. And I gotta say, great show, brilliant for what it did. I can recognize that too. Eventually when she does a rewatch, I'll probably fully go through every episode, but I feel like I got the gist of some of the story arcs, We even watched the movies. I was there for both of those, so I think the only thing we didn't do was watch the prequel series that was kind of like for teens. Number 44, X-Men, the animated series. Now, growing up, this was one of the hardest intros for any TV show that was on TV at the time. Like, it's crazy. It's still looking back, it's crazy how good it is. But nonetheless, this one is one of the best early examples, this and Batman the Animated Series, which we'll get to, of like the best interpretations of comics in a cartoon form. And that's all I have to say about that. I do like X-Men Evolution as well, but that didn't make the list. Number 43, The Eric Andre Show. Now, I think I discovered this show after it already had a couple seasons out. By that time, I wasn't really watching too much Adult Swim anymore, and man, was I missing out, because The Eric Andre Show is a fever dream of excellence. And that's a show you can't watch too many episodes of that in a row. I feel like you watch an hour of that max, and you're like, all right, my brain just can't even handle this. My brain's turned to mush. Then again, people scroll on TikTok for hours, so I don't know. Number 42, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, this is just an iconic series. Everybody loves this, right? Everybody, again, of a certain age range. Now, I'm certainly more into the original movie. The very first one, solid, great. But this cartoon series led to the action figure series as well. All of that stuff collectively was very integral to my early childhood. And number 41, Tales from the Crypt. Again, I don't even know if I've seen every episode of this, but this is one of those ones that I would catch sometimes and be like just so disturbed watching on TV. And it's one I've recently actually been looking into getting the DVDs for, because I don't have any way to watch that right now. I suppose I could look up some way to watch it online, but I'd like to give it another watch. Number 40, we've got Big Bad Beetleborgs. Now, some of you might remember this. Again, it's from a certain time, the mid to late 90s. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was big, and they did another sort of adaptment show of that, and they called it Big Bad Beetleborgs. It was basically like goth Power Rangers, like honestly. That's the best way to describe it, and it's sick as hell. I have some Beetleborgs VHS tapes around here somewhere. Just stoked to have those, you know what I mean? Number 39, Extreme Ghostbusters, which is the sequel series to The Real Ghostbusters. Now, this series finally came out on DVD after years and years of just kind of being lost media that, you could find occasionally popping up on Hulu or Crackle or somewhere, but then being taken off pretty quickly, and often missing half the episodes too. Either way, great show, spooky atmosphere, I love it. Number 38, That7s Show. And despite Danny Masterson being a complete, disgusting human being, this show holds up extremely well for, a sitcom that started in the 90s. I think a lot of people still watch this in their teen years. It's like, it's a formative show, It was kind of like our generation's Happy Days. And while you won't find That 90s Show on this list, I do think it's better than some people give it credit for. Decent little addition to the series. Number 37, The Powerpuff Girls. Again, Powerpuff Girls, very formative to my youth. Like, I used to watch that show and feel guilty about watching it as a kid, because it's Powerpuff Girls, it's so girly. Like I care. You've often probably seen me in a hymn bathrobe on this channel. Powerpuff Girls just rules. That was a great show. Number 36, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. This is another one that I've probably seen a lot of episodes of, but I've never gone through and watched from start to finish, and I'm feeling the desire to do that. When I was a kid, I remember just always loving Salem. So whenever this show was on, I'd tune in just to watch the talking cat. And to be fair, that's probably a large contributing factor of why I want to rewatch it and why it's on this list. But if you couldn't tell, I love spooky stuff. So anything with a sort of even mildly gothic undertones, I'm gonna at least vibe to a little bit. Speaking of, number 35, Tales from the Dark Side. My God, just the intro alone from Tales from the Dark Side puts it on this list. I could just watch that and be like, I'm creeped out sufficiently. But all these types of horror anthology shows, some of them, the vibes are different, but they're great. This is another one of those ones that, I very occasionally watch, and I want to get the whole series. I don't even know if it's available. I need to look into that. Number 34, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which I do have the Blu-ray set of this series. But again, more often than not, I'm going to go watch the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie, instead, because I think it's significantly better and more iconic. Ivanhoe's just nothing better. However, Power Rangers is kind of one of those shows I like to throw on when I'm organizing movies or something, I'll stop and pay some attention, take a sip from my little beverage, and then go back to organizing movies, while I'm listening to it. Number 33, Chucky. I actually really enjoyed Chucky. Particularly, I think the first season was solid. Overall, I understand why it's not some people's bag, but it is right up my alley. I'm bummed that it's not getting another season, but at the same time, I'm glad we got what we did. It's fun. Number 32, The Joy of Painting with Bob Ross. Come on, you can't disagree with me here. This has to be on the list, right? This is a show that everybody in the world, I feel has watched at one point. At least those of us who were alive back when it originally aired on TV, and you're flipping through the channels, there's nothing on, you're all right, well, Bob Ross will do. If nothing, you're just amazed by his paint skills. And if you've never set up a canvas and paint along with Bob Ross, you haven't lived. Number 31, Ash vs. Evil Dead. Another horror movie franchise turned series. This is a great series as well, and I've actually met Dana De Lorenzo from the show, and she was very nice. This show perfectly captured the vibe of what you expect post Army of Darkness, And that's another one. I think I have the first season of this on Blu-ray somewhere. I don't have the other two. I need to pick those up. Number 30, SpiderMan, the 90s animated series. Again, this thing was formative for me. There was a SpiderMan 90s breakfast cereal. It was Chex with marshmallows in it. Oh my God. Wasn't the best tasting cereal, but I felt so awesome eating it. But this show had so many cool story arcs and other characters. Eventually you saw Daredevil. I think Ghost Rider was in there. Captain America, the X-Men, all of the cool Spider-Man arcs. It's great. And if you're wondering, it is on Disney+. Check it out. Number 29, we've got The Munsters. It's brilliant. Okay, this is one of the first shows I remember actively watching as a child. We had a little dial TV that I shared with my brother because we shared a bedroom growing up for probably the first 5 or 6 years of my life. But it's an old black and white dial TV, and I would watch Munsters in bed. When my mom would put me in bed at night, I don't know what time this was, but like the Munsters was always on. And it's like some of my first memories, you know. And she'd be like, you really want to fall asleep to this? Because it's like, you know, it's the Munsters. It's like not actually scary, but it looks kind of scary, right? Especially for like a 3-year-old or however old I was. I don't know. And I do have the whole series on DVD. However, I only recently in the last like 5 years or so became familiar with the fact that there's like other Munsters movies that came out in like the 80s and stuff. I don't know if they're worth checking out or not, so. Number 28, Stranger Things. Now, I think Stranger Things has been going on long enough that a lot of people have probably moved on in a certain sense. Like it's not cool to like anymore, probably. I was a little bit ahead of the curve on this one, I think. And I'm not saying that to be all like a hipster or anything, but I do think I liked Stranger Things before everyone else, because I was on the hype train when like I was reading production stuff about this show, like, and when the first trailer dropped, I was there, you know. And it's going to be coming to an end soon, so we'll see how that goes. Number 27, Real Monsters. Great Nickelodeon show. Again, only people from a certain time are really going to remember this one. But it's very Monsters, Inc., I'll say. Before Monsters, Inc. But also a little bit creepier. Has a little bit of like Ren and Stimpy sort of animation vibe going on. That early Nickelodeon creepiness, you know. Number 26, Party Down. And Party Down actually recently had some sequel seasons that I haven't seen. But I've been a big Party Down fan for about 10 years, I want to say. I've discovered it randomly, like, I think it was on Hulu, was streaming, and I was like, oh, I like Adam Scott, I'll check that out. Loved it. Loved that show as someone who is very interested in movies and, you know, actors and worked on movies and stuff like that. Anyway, I think it's a brilliant show that was very short-lived, unfortunately. Number 25, halfway through the list, we've got Ozark, the Netflix show starring Jason Bateman. Laura Linney, great show. I actually just finished a rewatch recently. And by the end of that show, it's just become a vehicle for how badass Julia Garner is, so. Now you'd think, he has Ozark on this list. Maybe he'll have like Breaking Bad up there. Don't count on it. Number 24 is Arrested Development, which again, I recently started rewatching, but I don't know how to feel necessarily at this point about the recent seasons. The first 3 seasons are some of the greatest TV I've ever seen, for sure. I don't even necessarily think that the other seasons were that bad, but I don't have a desire to watch them, you know? Now somebody might say, well, that means you shouldn't put it on this list, but those first 3 seasons, man, they're so good. Number 23, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. This was, again, another very formative show for me growing up. It was always on TV. We'd always watch it as a family because it's something that everybody could, you know, sit around the TV and watch. Stuff like this and Family Matters, Home Improvement at the time. Well, the only one I've sought out as an adult and watched all of. I have all the DVDs of it. In fact, thinking about it, I kind of want to go and rewatch it now. Number 22, Gargoyles. Now, one of the first videos I did on this channel was actually talking about the Gargoyles interactive VCR board game that came with Gargoyles the movie. And this Gargoyles show, I remember like coming home from school sometimes and catching this, you know what I mean? I didn't always watch the network that it's on. I can't even remember who was playing it at the time. Was it like WB or UPN? Like I don't even know, man. It's been so long. It's such a good show. Like, I highly recommend going back and checking that one out. Number 21. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Now, there's a lot of children's horror on my list. It's something I was big into. It led into a lifelong and adult obsession. But this was a huge contributing factor, man. I was spooked the hell out by this show. Just the intro and the music. Plus, they've had so many interesting cast members on this show. I'm pretty sure it's a Canadian show, too. And next up, number 20, The Twilight Zone. Now, I'm really just talking about the original iteration, but, I mean, if you wanted to, you can include all of them, I don't care. I haven't even seen the most recent one. I heard it was pretty decent, but Twilight Zone's one of those ones I can go back once every year and watch, like, a few episodes on some random night and just be taken into that world, you know? Because I used to watch reruns of this on the Sci-Fi Channel and stuff back in the day, in the 90s, you know? It's just a fun memory. That's what it brings back for me. And on that same note, number 19, Mystery Science Theater 3000. This is one of those ones that, for a long time, I couldn't remember what the fucking name of it was. Like, there was a period from probably when I was like 17 to 25 where I just was like, oh, it's that one show with those fucking robots and the dude and they're watching stuff in space. Now I have like DVDs and VHS, and luckily you can watch a lot of this stuff online too. So there'd be nights where I just like go and throw one of these on, make some popcorn, and watch some Mystery Science Theater 3000. And then it came back for Netflix. A lot of people didn't like it. I thought it was pretty decent. Didn't hate it. Number 18, still on a sci-fi streak, Futurama. Now back when I was a kid, 13-year-old me would have been like, Family Guy is number 1. Family Guy's not even on this list. Futurama, however, did make the list. I discovered it the same way, watching reruns on Cartoon Network. Adult Swim late at night, The year is like 2004. I'm up late watching this. Yeah, honestly, Futurama is just a brilliant program. That's all I have to say. Number 17, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Now, it's actually pretty crazy that this is number 17 in me. It's probably just my current feelings, because at any time, again, this list could change. Even looking at it now, I'm like, yeah, maybe I could move this here, but, I'm just here to list off 50, my top 50. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is still running, It's one of those shows that's kind of like Curb. I mean, it took a lot of influence from Curb, but that's not even what I mean when I say that. I mean that at this point, they just kind of take a few years off and do a season when it's convenient, when they have the time, because they're all doing other stuff too. And so far, it's been pretty good throughout the entire run. There's been some ups and downs, but like overall, that's a great show. I've watched it so many times that I need to take a few years off, before I go and rewatch it again. But number 16, Goosebumps. Now this is one that it really depends on the episode. Like, is it really that good? But some of those are like such good like children's horror tales that it's inarguable for me how influential it was. Again, just the music in the intro, I'm sold. Now we're into the top 15, and we'll go with number 15, Nathan For You. Now actually, Nathan Fielder just dropped a second season of The Rehearsal. I have not checked that out yet, but when I discovered Nathan For You, it was like caveman discovering fire. Like, I didn't even understand. I was like, wow, this is incredible. And even like the culmination in the ending episode of everything that happened throughout the run of that show, like, I'm surprised it's not higher on my list. It's that good. Number 14. I fall asleep to this show almost every night. I watched it as a kid growing up, and then as more recently it's become available on a lot of streaming services. Unsolved Mysteries. For me personally, I would prefer to just see the stories about sea monsters, Bigfoot, Dracula, ghosts, aliens, all that. Unfortunately, there's lots of like lost loves and like message in a bottles and stuff like that, but the vibes are just too immaculate to argue. It's one of the greatest shows of all time. Not to mention, it did help actually solve a bunch of mysteries in the 90s. That's cool. Number 13, Batman, the animated series. The coolest fact I know about this show is that they animated it on black paper. That's just awesome. That's why it looks so dark. And it might not even be entirely accurate, you know what I mean? So don't ruin that for me. But this show is great. I bought it on Blu-ray. There's certain episodes I watch like during certain holiday seasons. Like, so every Christmas, there's certain episodes I watch of this now. Who didn't watch this growing up in the 90s? Like, who doesn't love this as a Batman fan? Number 12. We have my first actual talk show. I guess we had Eric Andre on the list earlier, but Late Night with Conan O'Brien / Conan. Really, I'm including both because they're basically the same show. Conan is the factor. Any Conan TV show in this slot. Doesn't matter. I love Conan O'Brien. I have since discovering him in the early 2000s as like, oh my god, this guy's actually funny. It's not like watching Jay Leno. And I still listen to like his podcast and watch videos of just his old shows on YouTube. Some of you might think it's crazy it's this high up on the list, but man, Conan is a big part of my life. Number 11, Daria. Daria, the spin-off of Beavis and Butthead. Fucking great show. And the movies, solid. Again, like this, it creates sort of a certain vibe for me when I watch this, of being like the younger of 4 kids and hanging around older siblings that were watching like MTV and cool shows like Daria and just music videos on MTV and whatever else was on. N64 is a thing. Everybody's playing GoldenEye and Mortal Kombat 4. That's kind of where the show takes me, and in the best way possible. And then number 10, Cosmos. Now, if you want me to distinguish, I'll say the original. But I do enjoy the Neil deGrasse Tyson version as well. Carl Sagan is a huge figure in my life as well. I have several of his books. Contact, just as a movie. But Cosmos, the show, is one of those ones that you'd catch like PBS airings of, glimpses of it, and you'd be like, wow. And if you were lucky, they showed you episodes of this in school, this and Bill Nye and stuff. Like, there's no denying it's up there for me. I mean, learning shows, you wouldn't expect to be on this list. But, sorry, here we are. Number 9, Courage the Cowardly Dog. I actually have a Courage the Cowardly Dog tattoo. You've probably seen it in some of my videos. Big fan. This is a show that sometimes I will go back and just rewatch certain episodes I remember and be like, you know what, I want to watch that Banana Apocalypse Future episode. That one rules. Or how about the one with too much macaroni? Just solid programming. There's no words to even describe some of these shows, how much they mean to me. Number 8, Freaks and Geeks, which is one I probably discovered in the early 2010s. It's one of those ones you always hear about that's like, oh, this show's really good. And then you go and check it out and you're like, oh, I'm actually kind of attached to this show now. Again, I grew up in the early 90s. This show takes place in the early 80s. But there's a lot of the same vibes and the same things going on, It's like a great counterpart to That7s Show. Like, That7s Show is more mainstream, obviously, but Freaks and Geeks is better, let's be honest. And then we've got number 7, The XFiles. The XFiles has to be in the top 10 for me. I love the characters, the stories. Like, I'm not really into FBI type shows, but if they're about supernatural stuff, I'm in. The X-Files is just very iconic and means a lot to me as well. Again, kind of brings me back to that time like Daria does, the mid-90s. Everybody's obsessed with fucking aliens. It's like they kind of made a resurgence, Movies like Independence Day are coming out. All these alien documentaries on TV and VHS tapes coming out. What a time. Number 6, The Real Ghostbusters, which is the original series. We talked about Extreme Ghostbusters earlier, which was obviously one of my favorites. The Real Ghostbusters being the precursor. Great show. Great toy line. Super iconic. I would not be who I am today without this show. Speaking of, number 5, ScoobyDoo Where Are You? And honestly here, you could kind of just put Scooby-Doo in an umbrella, but if we're being specific, it's Scooby-Doo Where Are You? Because that's the one that was rerun the most when I was a kid. But then they started kind of like mixing it up, so there'd be all sorts of different Scooby-Doo stuff running on Cartoon Network in the mid-90s, but it's Scooby-Doo's one of my favorite characters of all time, and series, movies, all of it. I have done several videos on this channel, going through my Scooby-Doo VHS collection, going through my Scooby-Doo DVD collection. I have an original video store poster for Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island hanging up on the wall over here, like, it's my jam. Number 4, Curb Your Enthusiasm, which I think is perhaps the funniest TV show of all time. Like, if this was a comedy list and I was rating everything based on that, that'd probably be number 1. It's up there. And listen, Seinfeld ain't on this list. And I can see, why that would be weird for some people, and people wouldn't be able to understand that. But I personally just don't like Jerry Seinfeld himself. Never have. Don't think I ever will. Just not a fan. Now, Larry David, on the other hand, and again, I can see why people would be like, what the fuck do you mean? Number 3, Lost. Now, I've done a couple videos on Lost as well. We had the 20th anniversary last year. I did not watch this show while it aired. I think that's where most of the hate from this show comes from, is being that story dragged out over 6 years. Now, since it's all on streaming and you can binge all of it in a couple months, I think it works so much better. It's much more conclusive. You could remember things that happened. Like, imagine watching Lost throughout 6 years, and like on the 6th season, you're like, I don't even fucking know what's happening anymore. I can't even remember the first season, bro. Like, there's characters they bring back from the first season. You're like, fucking, I don't even forgot that person existed at this point. I graduated high school and went to college and graduated while this shit was happening. Like, not me personally, but you know what I mean? Like, so I can understand why it has a very interesting rap on the internet, let's say. Number 2 for me is Alf. Now, I've done numerous videos on Alf as well. I've talked about the Christmas episode, the Halloween episode, some of the DVDs and stuff. There's obviously an Alf shelf behind me. The only thing I'm missing is an Alf tattoo, which, believe me, it's on the list. Again, aliens, paranormal stuff, spooky stuff, ghosts, give it to me. Give it all to me. And my number 1 favorite show of all time, out of the top 50, Twin Peaks. Also, rest in peace, David Lynch. But Twin Peaks, my God, that's my favorite show. There's just no way around it. It has everything I like. Twin Peaks is my Roman Empire. You know what I mean? I'd be walking around just thinking about it. Like, I absolutely eat it up. Well, that's it. That is my top 50 TV shows of all time. If you made it through this whole video, thank you. Why don't you jump in the comments down below? I want to hear what I'm missing from my list. Things that you would absolutely have to have on your top 50 TV shows of all time. And if you like this video, be sure to check out this one and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.